What if I told you that the choices you make every single day could be writing a story right onto your DNA? Well, today we're diving into the revolutionary science that shows exactly how that's possible. Welcome to Epigenetics Beyond Your DNA. Let's just kick things off with this powerful idea, something that once graced the cover of Time magazine: why your DNA isn't your destiny. That single phrase just perfectly captures this huge shift in thinking, the idea that we have way more influence over our own genetic story than we ever thought possible. So what does that really mean? Well, it means there's this whole other layer of instructions sitting right on top of our genes. Think of it like a software program that tells our genetic hardware how to run. And that, right there, is the incredible world of epigenetics. Okay, so the formal definition is that epigenetics is the study of heritable changes in gene expression that, and this is the key part, don't involve altering the DNA sequence itself. Your genetic code, the A's, T's, C's, and G's, that stays the same. But how your body reads and uses that code, that can change dramatically. Here's a fantastic way to picture the difference. Imagine your genetics, your DNA, is the architectural blueprint for a house. It's fixed. Epigenetics, on the other hand, well, those are the notes that the foreman scribbles all over that blueprint. Build this wall here, ignore this window, use a different material for the door. It's the software telling the hardware what to actually do. So how does this actually happen? How does our body literally write these notes on our DNA? Well, it all comes down to a really elegant system of chemical tags that attach to our genome and basically direct all the traffic. And researchers have figured out there are three main ways this happens. The big two are DNA methylation and histone modification. You can think of them as switches and knobs that control which genes get used. There's also a third, non-coding RNA, which can act like a messenger. But let's take a closer look at those first two. First up, we've got DNA methylation. This is probably the most well-known mechanism. Just imagine a dimmer switch for a light. By adding a tiny chemical tag, called a methyl group, to a specific spot on the DNA, the cell can dim a gene's expression or even turn it off completely. It's like a biological off switch. The second mechanism is all about packaging. See, our DNA is wound super tightly around these proteins called histones, kind of like thread on a spool. By modifying those histones, the cell can either tighten the spool, which hides the genes and silences them, or it can loosen it up, making those genes easy to read and ready for action. Okay, but here's where it gets truly mind-bending. These epigenetic tags don't just affect you. The things you experience in your life can create changes that might actually echo down through future generations. And that leads to this just profound question. Could the choices you're making today, what you eat, the stress you're under, even the air you breathe, could that actually impact the health of your grandchildren? All the evidence is pointing to a resounding yes. Just take this startling example. When a pregnant woman smokes, she's not just affecting her own health. Of course, she's affecting the fetus, that's generation 2. But, and this is the crucial part, she's also affecting the reproductive cells that are developing inside that fetus, the very cells that will one day form her grandchildren. That's generation 3, a single action with a 3-generation impact. Wow. History has given us more really stark evidence of this. During the Dutch famine near the end of World War II, the children of mothers who survived that period of starvation were born with specific epigenetic marks. Decades later, not only did those individuals have higher rates of obesity and heart disease, but so did their children. It's as if the memory of that famine was literally written into their biology. And this, of course, brings us to the direct impact on our own health and well-being. Because when these epigenetic processes go haywire, they can have really serious consequences, and the links to disease are becoming clearer and clearer every single day. And the stakes here are incredibly high. As Peter Jones, a leading cancer researcher, put it, the evidence connecting these processes with cancer is now extremely compelling. You see, epigenetic errors can do things like silence the very genes that are supposed to protect us from tumors, or they can switch on genes that cause them to grow. And it's not just cancer. Researchers are now connecting these epigenetic mechanisms to a whole range of conditions, everything from autoimmune disorders like MS and psoriasis to neuropsychiatric issues, cognitive problems, and even heart and lung diseases. But, how can we really be sure? How do we separate the influence of our environment from our underlying DNA?
Well, as it turns out, scientists found the perfect natural experiment, studying identical twins.
Identical twins are just fascinating because they come from a single fertilized egg, which means they start life with the exact same genetic blueprint. It's a perfect control group. But as they grow up, of course, they lead different lives. They live in different places, they eat different foods, they make different choices. And as their environments and lifestyles diverge, so do their epigenomes. This slow accumulation of different epigenetic tags over a lifetime can explain something that has always puzzled scientists. Why one twin might develop a disease like multiple sclerosis, for instance, while their genetically identical sibling stays perfectly healthy. And studies actually let us see this divergence happening. If you look at the epigenetic tags of identical twins when they're 3 years old, they're remarkably similar, almost perfect copies. But fast forward to age 50, after a lifetime of different experiences, and those patterns have changed dramatically. Their identical DNA now carries vastly different sets of instructions. So, what does all of this mean for that age-old debate, nature versus nurture? Well, it pretty much means the debate is over. Your lifestyle, your nurture, is actively, constantly writing notes on your nature. Epigenetics is the scientific bridge. It's the physical mechanism that connects our genes with our environment, our diet, our stress levels, everything we're exposed to. It was never one versus the other. It's a constant, dynamic conversation between the two. Okay, so let's just quickly recap the absolute key takeaways here. Number 1, your DNA is not your destiny. It's not set in stone. Number 2, your choices, your lifestyle can add these epigenetic tags that literally change how your genes behave. And finally, these changes can affect your own health and maybe even the health of generations to come. You know, when you really think about it, this knowledge is incredibly empowering. It means we aren't just passive bystanders reading a genetic code we were handed. We are active authors of our genetic story. So I'll just leave you with this one question to ponder. If your life is writing a story on your DNA, what story will yours tell?